Hey guys, first regardsman here, and I'll be talking about the best builds to help you dominate hard stratagems and operations in Space Marine 2 Patch 14. Now, Patch 14 is a much smaller patch than the previous Purgation and Techmarine updates were, and not a lot has changed for most of the classes. We're going to be going through the most powerful setups for each one of them today, and some alternative options because there isn't always a catch-all build for every single situation. And before we even get into this, I just want to make it clear that you should not feel inclined to play the strongest setup in a game like this at all times. The whole point of Horde shooters like Space Marine 2 having as many options as they do in weapon variety in 2026 is to give the player more options to fit your playstyle. So if something here is just not that entertaining for you, feel free to mix it up and play whatever you enjoy the most, and I will also be making other build setup guides in the future for this patch as usual. This was also partially recorded on the PTS since this is a smaller patch, but if there are any major changes, I will of course put them in the pinned comment. So with all that being said, it is time to go into the strongest build options of patch 14. Now the first class we'll be talking about here is the Tactical. Now this guy is still in a very strong position this patch. Unfortunately, one of his stronger build options did get nerfed, with the Pyre Blaster no longer actually getting like the extra Aspect Scan damage on the burn effect, which it does kind of suck. But that being said, this class has another top tier option, which is the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle. Now this weapon is incredible on both the Tactical and the Techmarine class. The main reason why is that grenade launchers in Space Marine 2, these will give you back all of your contested health pretty much immediately on a single shot, which is super strong because this class is fairly squishy in the game. You have no direct damage reduction outside of stuff like block charges and like the adrenaline surge stacks, giving you that 60% range damage reduction, and other options like Fortitude just upping your HP a little bit. So having an option to just immediately get back all of your HP is very strong on him, which is what makes this weapon so powerful on its own. And also the damage nuking potential here is just very good because you can take the Aspect Scan, put that down in an area, and just nuke all the enemies with the grenade launcher. So a really good all around. We'll be building around that today. So first up, we have extended magazine here. Magazine size increases by 15% of the maximum. This will improve the ammunition count on both your grenade portion and your standard gun portion, so really good value perk. Next perk here is magazine restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by a full magazine. Cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, this perk will not give you back ammunition on your grenade launcher portion. It will only give you back ammo on the gun portion, so not as good as it may sound initially. But that being said, if you don't want to take this perk, or excuse me, if you don't want to take the Emperor's Vengeance perk, you can just take this one instead down here and kind of get your ammo back in a lot of cases and not have to worry about getting ammunition from like every single Majora's Kill, and take other options like Steady Aim or Emperor's Judgment. Now for the next perk here, we do take Cleaving Fire, which gives you a 25% penetration on enemy block stances, which is pretty nice to just pick up free kills on stuff like Majora's Sword Warriors, because Sword Warriors in this game are super annoying to deal with, and being able to reach those executes sometimes is really nice. Next perk here is Remote Threat. Enemies at a distance of more than 25 meters take 20% more damage. This is just a free range damage buff. This weapon is actually fairly accurate, a 5+ accuracy, so having this option here, it's pretty easy to headshot enemies from long range. It will also affect your grenade launcher portion. Just keep in mind that 25 meters is fairly far in this game, so you have to arc the shot pretty well. Next perk here is Great Might for 10% damage buff against terminus level enemies, and then we go down here into the perk Increased Capacity. Just like the extended magazine perk, this will up the ammunition on your ammo reserves for your gun and your grenade launcher, so really good value option. Then I go up here into the perk Headhunter. Headshots deal 10% more damage, and I skip over the perk here Tactical Precision because this one will lower your grenade launcher damage. If you do want more headshot damage, you could pick this up, but the grenade launcher is a very strong option on this gun. There are also some better perks here in my opinion, so I do skip it over today. If you want this and like skip over extended magazine, you could do that instead. Next perk here I pretty much always take for operations and hard strats is Recoupment. Killing a Majoris or higher enemy with a headshot, this weapon restores one armor segment. The cooldown is 15 seconds. Getting armor back in Space Marine 2 on your gun is a very powerful effect, especially on the Tactical, because like I mentioned before, this class is not very tanky, and any amount of armor in Space Marine 2 will reduce all incoming melee damage to 0, so getting armor back on a drip feed like this, really powerful for your build setup. And in operations and hard strats, unlike the siege mode, it is pretty easy to trigger this off cooldown. Next perk here is Rapid Health. When your health's below 30%, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores health by 10%. This will keep you above one-shot territory. Getting your HP back on a grenade launcher is really easy because you have, a grenade launcher, and also the gun portion of this weapon is very powerful for horde clear as well, so pretty easy to trigger this against both Chaos and Tyranids. Next perk here is Perpetual Penetration, down here into the perk Extended Magazine for the same reason as before, and the final perk is your choice of Divine Might, or the perk down here, Remote Threat again. Now, Remote Threat can give you more damage overall if you're at a distance, but this one's good up close, so I'd kind of prefer it. Now, something I do want to say here is that this weapon is very strong against Chaos as well as Tyranids, because grenade launchers, they will stagger enemies, and when you are fighting an enemy like a Terminator Chaos Sorcerer or a Terminator, missile cannon guy, being able to stagger them out of their minigun is very strong for you, so this gun's good for that as well. Just keep that in mind. Now, for the secondary, I do take the Heroic Plasma Pistol because this weapon kind of fits this build perfectly. The Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle gives you great horde clear and great contested health recovery, which gives you a great opportunity to pick this up for like pure damage nuking potential, which is why we just take this instead. Now, the Heroic perk effect here is called Overcharged Plasma Coils. You will only fire charged shots with increased damage, but the charge time is longer. The charge time of this weapon takes 5 business days, but the actual shot damage here can like one-shot Majoris. Really powerful for you. And for the perk tree setup, I take Plasma Collection first, into the perk here Rapid Cooling, and then we pick up Plasma Collection again, into the perk Blast Radius, into the perk here Perpetual Velocity, because you pretty much always pick this up. Without this perk, this gun just takes forever to charge, and even with this perk, it takes forever to charge, so you definitely want this. Next perk here is Plasma Collection again, and the final perk options are Blast Radius, the perk here Retaliation, and of course the perk Divine Might for 10% damage buff. Now, I'll say, if you want to take the perk up here, Charged Cooling, charge shots generate 10% less heat, this will give you 2 shots instead of 1 before your weapon overheats, which is pretty good. For the perk over here, Plasma Boost. When plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40%, and their charge shots use 1 less energy. So, on that second shot, you will get the 40% damage buff, which is pretty nice, but on this build, I am taking Crack and Penetrate rounds instead, because the 50% buff here to our body shot damage, that is really nice on the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle for the gun portion. So if you want to do that, you definitely can, but I'm taking this one today. Now, for the melee weapon selection, I do either take the Argent Edge or the Heroic White Scars Chainsword. Now, I kind of prefer the White Scars Chainsword, to be honest, just because it gives you a ton of melee options in the game, and the way I would set this one up is going through like this perk tree for stuff like Full Throttle and a combo skip, and we're picking options here like Minora's Slayer and Extremis Slayer up here for hard target, and the perk here Majora's Slayer. Now, the heroic perk effect on this one, if you're unaware, is called Fury of Shigoris. Adrenaline Surge stacks are increased to 3, and the third stack is a higher damage bonus, but the bonus for the second stack is reduced. This gives you a ton of utility in the game. Stacking up these damage stacks can get you to kind of like absurd damage values compared to like what you'd expect from the strength of 12, though if you want to have a safer option overall, a much better weapon effect is the Argent Edge for defense on Scathing Retort. The riposte window is shorter, but each perfect parry damages and staggers the enemies. So what this weapon will do is on every single perfect parry, you will stagger an enemy and give them a gunstrike opportunity, which is a very powerful effect against enemies like Raveners that have triple hit combos and melee Terminators. So for both Chaos and Tyranids, these weapons are very strong, but Argent Edge is definitely the better defensive option. And the way I'd set up the perk tree on this is starting off with the perk down here, Perpetual Strength, but really it does not matter too much, because this weapon is mainly for a parry stick, and the actual damage here, despite a strength value of 18, is not that strong. And if you want like pure damage, I would definitely go for the White Scars Chainsword. And if you want a full guide on this weapon, I also have that on this channel. Now, for the perk tree here, now this is pretty simple. If you want to take the perk up here, Balance Distribution first, this is the best for your primary damage, but you will lose damage on your secondary. So on the Heroic Plasma Pistol, I'd probably not take this because this weapon really wants pure damage. If you're taking the perk here, Plasma Boost, this is obviously better for charge cooling like I mentioned before. And the perk I took on this build is Crack and Penetrator rounds for a 50% body shot damage buff, because the body shot damage on the heavy bolt rifle is already pretty strong, and getting the horde clear option for that will help you out a lot. The next perk here is Heightened Vigor. After a perk time parry, block, or dodge, you will deal 10% more melee and gunstrike damage. Do not lose control of heavy hits. It cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. So this is a very strong value perk. I would mainly use this on the Heroic White Scars Chainsword, because with a block weapon, you really want that no knockback. Otherwise, you might get staggered out of your block charges, which absolutely sucks. Though if you are taking the Argent Edge, you can take Relentless Pursuit down here, or Versatility, because you don't need that no knockback as much, because this weapon here is so powerful powerful for defense. So if you want to take these instead, you definitely can. Next perk here is Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majoris or higher enemy restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. Cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This perk effectively gives infinite ammo, though I'll say this will only give you back 1 grenade per trigger. Let's say 30-second cooldown, which is fairly substantial for grenade launcher portions. I mean, it is pretty nice to have that option for a free CHP recovery every 30 seconds, which does kind of make it the strongest pick, in my opinion, for the hard strats and operations. But if you want to take Steady Aim or Emperor's Judgment, you can definitely do that instead. Next perk here you pretty much always take is Secure Stockpile. Equipment charge restored by 1 for all team members. The cooldown is 60 seconds. A 60-second cooldown to restore all the equipment for your team is incredible in this game. That will break the pickup economy of the equipment in Space Marine 2. This perk is kind of cracked. I'm kind of surprised they haven't nerfed it yet, but Secure Stockpile is probably here to stay at this point, and it is a top-tier pick for any build. Next perk here is Vital Data. Scanning Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores your scans charged by 50%. This just gives you more Auspex scans against the enemies you want them against the most, Shark Extremis and Terminus. Being able to nuke down a boss faster is just the most important thing in hard strats and operations, especially the new Terminator boss, because the big thing in Space Marine 2 is that the filter for most teams is going to be those boss spawns, and having an option to remove them faster, that will just save your life. Next perk here is Precise Calibration, and combined here with the perk Concentrated Fire, because this is just the god nuke combo of the tactical class Auspex scan. Put together, these two perks will give you like a 300% damage bonus, which is absolutely fucking enormous in this game, and a 75% buff to your Auspex scan with a radius reduction of 25% is absolutely worth it. And the next perk here, Concentrated Fire, reads Auspex scan zone lasts 60% longer, and is marked by Auspex scan take an additional 120% damage, but they will lose the mark when they leave the scanned area. So this one may not sound that appealing at first because they lose the mark when they leave the scanned area, but you have to keep in mind that a 120% damage buff here and a longer lasting Auspex is absolutely worth it for bosses especially, and as long as you make sure you put down your Auspex on a card effects after they ram a wall, or a Hellbrute when they're slamming their hammer, or just a Neurothrope because they have to hover around, or the Chaos Terminator boss when they are kind of just standing there around their orbs, this is a very potent perk effect, and half the time enemies will run into it like the Extremis or bosses and trigger Vital Data to give you that 50% scan back. So it's a really powerful option here. I pretty much always pick this up, and ones over here like Expert Timing and the perk Close Targeting, they're not remotely as strong. They're not bad by any means. This one's just better. Final perk here is Radiant Impact. A melee finisher additionally deals significant AoE damage at a 10-meter radius. The cooldown is 90 seconds. This will one-shot Majoris enemies in a 10-meter radius on hard strats and absolute on a 90-second cooldown. That may not sound that good initially, but this is an absolutely clutch perk. It will save your life all the time. In like 2,000 hours of playing on the tactical class probably at this point, this perk is just god tier. It is incredible. I'm surprised that they haven't buffed the other ones up to be even close to it yet, but they've tried. It's just this perk overperforms all the time. Now, for the prestige perk options, I do take Acuity first. Each consecutive headshot increases headshot damage by 3% up to 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds without a headshot. This is just free damage on like any bolter in the game. If you're taking a bolter weapon on tack, you just pick this up because it's always worth taking. And the next perk here is Skill Supplier. Ammo reserve increases by 15%. This will buff up the ammo for your gun portion, your grenades, and your secondary. It's a really nice catch-all, and put that in perspective, the heavies perk over here, additional supplies, this will only benefit your primary weapon, and this will give you a bonus to all of them, so a really good value perk. Final perks here are Resilience, Medicaid Sims restore 40% more HP, and Fortitude for health increase of 15%. Getting more HP from your Sims just helps out the pickup economy of the game, and Fortitude just keeps you from being one-shot, so you definitely want this. And that is pretty much all there is for the tactical build setup. I do think this is currently the strongest setup overall on the tactical class. If you want to swap out the secondary for like a heroic bolt pistol or things like that when you're taking things like Balance Distribution, you can definitely do that, because the one-shot perk effect of Retribution's Bequest, which kills a reinforcement calling enemy in a headshot, will just function no matter what. So that 15% damage loss here from this perk does not matter too much. But for the most part, the heroic Plasma Pistol is kind of insane. and really any plasma pistol is strong because firepower, rate of fire, all of these are very good for contested health recovery and stagger, and that's pretty much all there is for this guy. Though if you want to swap the primary, you know, bolt carbine automatic variant, plasma, melta, and even the pyroblast still are still quite strong. But we're gonna move on to the next class here because tactical, that's pretty much all I have to say. Now for the assault class, this guy is still in a pretty good spot in patch 14. Wings of Flame is as strong as ever. Really ever since patch 12 when they gave him the Furious Strikes perk, he's been in a very powerful position. Now for the assault class, this guy is still in a very strong spot in patch 14. Wings of Flame with Furious Strikes is still super potent in this game ever since patch 12, and it's not really any different this time around. Now, as far as his weapon selection goes, I think a balanced Power Fist is very strong on him, but also stuff like the Block Power Fist, Block Power Axe, Thunder Hammer variants. He has a lot of choices here because the Thunder Hammer will give him more options on the ground pound, but the Power Fist, this thing is just kind of on crack. But I just want to make sure you're aware, if you don't want to use this one, you don't have to, because since the Power Axe and Thunder Hammer are still very strong, even the White Scar's Chainsword. Now, the strong portion of the Assault is that he can circumvent the awkward parry window on a balanced defense type, because any jump pack dash on the Assault will animation cancel anything you're doing, including your parry, unlike the Bulwark class. So the awkward startup of this weapon, he can just completely circumvent by hitting one button. So really good for him, which allows him to take full advantage of the 19 strength, 7+ speed, and 12 clean potential of the balanced Power Fist. Now, as far as the perk tree on this is concerned, it is the same as like patch 13 and patch 12, where you take perpetual strength into the perk here, heavy preparation for faster charge time, because the Power Fist is like 99% charge attacks. And next perk here is perpetual strength and perpetual strength again, over into the perk here, focus intention, which is a very strong damage reduction effect. This one says when your health is below 30%, you will take 50% less health damage while preparing heavy attacks. This allows you to damage trade with enemies all the time and one-shot them for executes. A really good option on the Power Fist, pretty much always pick this up. Next perk here is Tide of Battle, that increases your power wave from 10 to 20 meters, even though the description is wrong. And the perk up here is Following Blow, and then we take the perk down here, Strength of Will, and the final perks are Combo and Majora Slayer, and that is pretty much all there is for the Power Fist on like any setup. This weapon really is just like the goat of Space Marine 2. Though I want to say, if you want to set up your Thunder Hammer, you can take it like this on a balanced variant, and for the block, I'd probably go up here for Extremis Slayer, and for the Power Axe, I would just set it up like this on a block variant here, because that's really all you need to do, and that's all there is for the weapon selection. Now, for the secondary weapon, I still think the rate of fire plasma is the best on this class overall. Now, there are a ton of good options. Inferno Pistol is pretty good against Chaos. The Heavy Bolt Pistol is great against Tyranids for Zoanthropes, but overall, the rate of fire plasma, that will give you a ton of contested health recovery. Being able to charge up one shot quickly and get back all of your HP is very strong in this class, and also having that stagger option against Chaos for Missile Cannon Terminators to stop their minigun fire is super valuable for you, so I think this one is overall the best. Now, as far as the perk tree setup on this goes, I would take Plasma Collection first, into the perk here, Rapid Cooling, Plasma Collection again, Divine Might, Blast Radius, Perpetual Velocity, Plasma Collection again, and then pick up Efficient Charge and go into Perfect Cooling. That's pretty much all there is for this weapon. But if you want to take the Bolt Pistols, I'd probably set up this way or go down here for Able Damage. And if you want to take a Firepower Bolt Pistol on the standard variant, you can set up this way. That's all up to you, and you can really take this however you want. The secondary is predominantly like your decision, but I just think like for Chaos especially, Inferno Pistol and Plasma, they perform the best with the Bolt Carbine, because contested health recovery here is quite strong, and against Tyranids, the Heavy Bolt Pistol and Firepower Bolt Pistol and stuff like that can be a bit better. That's all there is for our main weapon selection. Now, for the perk tree, I would pretty much always take Overcharge. Damage from held and charged melee attacks increases by 25%. This is just such a giant damage boost to your Power Axe, your Thunder Hammer Aftershocks, and of course your Power Fist Thrust Jab. The Overcharge perk gives you a 25% multiplicative melee damage buff, which is tremendous in this game, so I would pretty much always take this for pure damage, though things like Armor Reinforcement and Wind Fury, they're still pretty good. Next perk here is Consecutive Execution, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge by 1. The cooldown is 90 seconds. This one can be a bit harder to use with Overcharge for some players, because you do lose out on the ease of use of the Defense Mechanism perk. This one makes it so your contested health fades 50% more slowly, which is very nice on the Assault, especially with a Plasma Pistol. But I will say Consecutive Execution, this can actually save you more HP, because being able to one-shot things like a Terminator and stuff like that in the Chaos faction, or just be able to blow up a Melt-A-Bomb in a Horde's face is really useful, and cycling back into this is super undervalued sometimes. Next perk here is Knowledge of the Enemy. Melee damage increases by 15% against Majoris or Extremis level enemies. And then I pick up Strategic Strikes for even more damage. And of course, the Wings of Flame combo with Furious Strikes, Wings of Flame, and Aerial Grace. Now, this perk here is just God tier. It says hitting an enemy with an attack after a jump pack dash for jump pack ability charged by 1. The cooldown is 10 seconds. So, when you use your jump pack dash and you get your jump pack dash attack, this one will just give you a free jump pack ability charge, and a free jump pack on a gap close is insane on its own. Even if you are not taking Wings of Flame, I think this perk is still worth picking up. It is just that good even for Zealous Blow, because it gives you so much utility that Furious Strikes really is just that perk. Now, the next perk here is Wings of Flame. A jump pack dash damages enemies on trajectory and always works as a perfect dodge and dodging the attack. This perk alone with commitment down here for free jump packs on every single perfect dodge with jump pack is insane. You can basically wipe out certain bosses with just this perk. Like a Carnifex, if he just endlessly swings at you and you hit your button on time, you will just nuke his HP down all on your own with just this perk. Really strong option for him. Though Zealous Blow down here, it says a ground pound kill restores jump packs charged by 10%. This is also really good for horde control. It's also easier to use. So if you're a player that doesn't feel very comfortable with Wings of Flame, you can definitely pick this up and even just build for like pure ground pound like this. But today I'm taking this one. Next perk here is Aerial Grace. After a per time dodge using a jump pack dash, you will deal 30% more damage for 10 seconds. A 30% damage buff for your melee and range attacks is super nice here. I will say Pride and Duty is also quite good for that 25% buff for 10 seconds on a finisher, because this will work on Minora's finishers, but this is just kind of a nice catch-all for a damage buff. Final perk here is Commitment, a perfect time dodge using a jump pack dash for jump packs ability charged by 1, and this is just free jump packs, so I pretty much always take this. And also, ever since they buffed up the Assault to have an animation cancel on every single jump pack dash, this is pretty much a god tier perk. I mean, the utility here is super strong, especially the perk over here, Furious Strikes, because if you get a jump pack dash and trigger this perk, you'll go up one free jump pack, and then all you have to do is jump pack dash attack to trigger this perk again, and then you have another free jump pack. So really good for him there to do free damage and free ground pounds. Now, for the prestige perk options, number 1, Unyielding Oath. When charging a ground pound, you become invulnerable to damage for 3 seconds. This perk is incredible utility. All you have to do is hold down your button for a split second, and you won't be invulnerable the entire time. And a 3-second duration is long enough to land on like a minigun Terminator, go through Neuro Throw waves and stuff like that, or Zone Throw beams. So this one's just super nice to just avoid awkward moments. Though if you're using a block weapon, duels can be pretty good too. Next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. And then you kind of take the perk here, Scramble Targeting or Practice Aim. This is really up to you. I mean, a range damage buff is nice, but Scramble Targeting is also pretty good for that 20% range damage reduction. But the one I would always take at the end is Hammer of Wrath. After using your jump pack, you will take 30% less range damage and not lose trope heavy hits and cannot be knocked back for 15 seconds. A 30% range damage reduction in this game is kind of insane on its own for like basically free, because you will be using your jump pack all the time, but no knockback for 15-second uptime on top of that. This is just an incredible perk. I mean, there's a time back in like patch 9 that this perk used to be placed over here, where they buffed it up to be this strong, and in patch 12 they moved it as a prestige perk option. It is basically power craft adrenaline boost, and now used to get a god tier perk of Furious Strikes instead. So a really good buff for him, but these days pretty much always take this. And that is all there is for the Assault class. You know, I'll say if you want to swap your weapons around, you don't have to use like a Power Axe, Power Fist, or Thunderhammer. White Scar's Chainsword is still great on him. Hell, even the other double-edged relic sword is pretty good, and Power Swords are still a ton of fun to him, even with the new Salamanders one. That is all up to you, and that's all I have to say on this class. Now for the Vanguard class, this class is still in a pretty decent spot for hard strats and ops. I know a lot of people think this guy is super underpowered, and he may be the weakest class in Space Marine 2 currently, but that being said, he's still good enough to complete like any hard strat really at any operation, and the best build setup for him, in my opinion at the moment, is an automatic bolt carbine for his primary here, because this weapon just has incredible ammo economy, incredible contested health recovery, and incredible damage on the close range, which are all things this class wants, because one of the major downsides of Vanguard is his ammo economy, and this weapon is just ridiculously ammo efficient with a 300 base ammo reserve that you can actually buff up further in the perk tree, so I'll be using that today. Now the first perk I take here is Headhunter. Headshots deal 10% more damage. Moving here to the perk Rapid Health. When your health's below 30%, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores health by 10%. This may seem a bit redundant to you, but if you aren't using healing perks like Unmasked Yield or Adrenaline Rush, this is actually coming into play fairly often. Next perk here is Home Precision. Equip weapons maximum spread. It decreases by 50% when firing without aiming. This basically turns your hip fire into a laser beam. The main downside of this gun is supposed to be the accuracy, but with this perk effect, all you have to do is hip fire your gun and you will just not have to worry about too accuracy at all. Super nice synergy there, so I pretty much always pick this up. Next perk here is Divine Might for a 10% damage buff. Into the perk here, Headhunter and Headhunter for a 20% headshot damage buff. Then we go down here for the perk Extended Magazine. Divine Might again for a damage increase of 10%. Then I pick up Increased Capacity, the perk here Magazine Restoration for even more ammo economy, because on the Vanguard, dropping below 30% HP with all of your healing perks, you really don't care that much at all, and like usually you can get your HP back off the contested health recovery of this gun anyways, so really strong option for you to keep topped off. Next perk here is Adamantine Grip, and the final perk is Divine Might, and alternatively, if you want to go up here for perks like Recruitment instead and Adamant Hunter, you can do that. This one just gives you more ammo, and like I said before, ammo is a bit of a struggle for this class. Now for the secondary here, I do take the Honorific Relic True Bolt Pistol Heroic variant. This one got buffed up in patch 14. It feels way better now. I was always a pretty big fan of this gun anyways back in like patch 10, but over time it got power crept a bit, but the base damage buff feels really good in this thing. Not overpowered by any means, but definitely fun to use. And for the perk tree, I would start off with the perk here, Perpetual Precision first, moving here to the perk Headhunter, Gunstrike Reload, Increased Capacity, Headhunter again, and the most important perk, which is Elite Hunter. After killing a Majoris or higher enemy with a melee weapon, headshots will deal 50% more damage for 10 seconds. Now, this will trigger off an execute in melee, not just a melee kill, but keep in mind, you have to have this weapon equipped to get this effect to actually work, and if you swap off during the 10-second duration, you will lose the headshot multiplier buff, which does kind of suck, but still very strong. Next perk here is Headhunter, down here into the perk Extended Magazine, and the final perk here is Divine Might, and that is all there is for the secondary. Now, for the melee weapon, I think the two best options on the Vanguard right now are the Heroic White Scars Chainsword and the Block Power Axe. These just have the best damage in melee for him, and damage is something this class actually struggles with, despite what a lot of people actually think, but his damage is not that high, so having these options for block charges really do help him out a ton, even if you don't take his melee perks. Now, for the perk tree on this, I would just go full damage on the Block Axe, Perpetual Strength, and the perk here Coup de Grace. Then we pick up the perk Perpetual Strength and Perpetual Strength again. And then I pick up the perk here Counterattack and Repose for double damage on the Overhead Strike. And the final perks here are Hard Target, the perk Tactical Retreat for more power backstep damage, Power Wave for a better angle to hit more enemies, and of course Cleaver for a 10% damage buff against Majoris and higher enemies. Now, you may be wondering, like in an execute build, why we would not take Fencing or Balance variants, because you do want to be away from the enemy to get Zone of Impact and Tactical Prowess off. I mean, you can do that, but I think the damage buff here on the block variants is just way better, and positioning yourself away from enemies to get back the grapnel is not too difficult anyways. Now, for the White Scars Chainsword, I would set it up this way, going with the perk Perpetual Strength first, all the way into Swift Recovery, Perpetual Strength, down here to Reverberating Impact, and you kind of just go here for the combo skip, though the final two perks are up to you with the Minoru Slayer or Extremis Slayer perk, or up here for Majoris Slayer and Hard Target. These are both very strong options. You can still hit breakpoints on the heroic effect here for Majoris Slayer, but it really is up to you. And that's pretty much all there is for the weapon setup. And now, for the perk tree, I would pretty much always take Upper Hand first. After a perfect time parry, block, or dodge, you do not destroy heavy hits and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback just feels way better on this class. This perk is by far the best in this column, and I really think on most builds you are just way better off taking this one, especially with block weapons, because block weapons do want to have that no knockback, because you want to get your attack off, and getting staggered out of an Adrenaline Surge attack absolutely sucks. Now, if you're not using a block weapon, if you decide to take something else than what I recommended here, like with a Fencing variant, you don't have to take this perk, but I still think it's the overall best. Next perk here is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you will take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This perk is just godly. A 25% health damage reduction for 10 seconds on armor break is incredible in this game. People really undervalue how good damage reduction is in Space Marine 2. There are unavoidable situations in Space Marine 2 where you will take damage, and being able to survive those with perks like this is the difference between winning and losing in a lot of cases, so I would definitely pick this up. I know some people like Duelist and the perk here Close Combat Focus, but overall, this is by far the best. Next perk here is Consecutive Execution, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charged by 1. The cooldown is 90 seconds. A 90-second cooldown equipment in this game is just a top-tier perk effect, really since the game came out. Honestly, even if these perks were like 180-second cooldowns, equipment is so strong in operations and hard strats and even the siege mode that getting them back is just that powerful and pretty much always worth taking. Next perk here is Unmatched Zeal. Melee finishers of extremist or terminus level enemies additionally restore health by 30% for any team member. I think this is the one that most players will want to take. A 30% HP heal for your team will help out your players who are struggling and yourself if you're struggling. So if you want to take this, you definitely can. I do think that Inner Fire can also be very powerful, especially with things like Tactical Prowess and stuff like Launch Restoration for armor restore on every grapple launcher. But that is up to you. If you feel more comfortable with this, you can definitely take it, but this one's by far the easiest pick. Next perk here is Restless Fortitude. After a diving kick, you'll take 40% less range damage for 10 seconds. This is a nice range damage reduction, and as of like patch 11 forward, they made it so this will trigger off of Tactical Prowess Execute, so you can basically get an execute off of this and also trigger your free range damage reduction and get the armor back, which is pretty nice. So Restless Fortitude is a very powerful perk. So if you want Shockwave, being able to deal damage in a 5-meter radius will wipe out Bramble and Cultists, so if you want some more damage, that's definitely up to you. And also collateral damage isn't that bad, because the grapnel launcher or the grapnel kick, that does scale with your difficulty, so this does help you out. Next perk here is Zone of Impact. Performing a finish where the grapnel launcher deals damage to nearby enemies. This is like the crux of every top tier Vanguard build at this point. You don't have to take this. You could go for Tip of the Spear or Tenacity, but the Zone of Impact damage is just top tier. You can basically cycle on enemies over and over with Tactical Prowess, because this perk reads, Grapnel Launcher can activate a finisher not only on incapacitated enemies, but also on those who have less than 33% HP, except for Terminus level, and performing a finish where the Grapnel Launcher restores its charge. I mean, you see the crux here. All you have to do is just get an enemy low, and then grapnel them, trigger this perk, get the other guys low, and then you have a flow chart going. Now, is that the most fun for every player? Not necessarily. So if you want to take Tenacity, if you want to take Tip of the Spear, you can definitely do that. I actually prefer doing that sometimes myself. And keep in mind that things like Grim Determination and say when grapnel launchers in cooldown, weapon damage increases by 15%, this will trigger for your ranged weapon, not just your melee weapon. So Tip of the Spear can stack with this, and the Bolt Carbine does a ton of damage at close range. Now, for the next perk here on my build, I would take Combat Readiness. Grapnel Launcher recharges 20% faster, just because we don't have an easy way to get our grapnel back on this build if we do lose it and can't use Tactical Prowess. Though I will say, Thrill of the Fight, a 20% health damage reduction for 5 seconds on parry, block, or dodge. This is a very powerful damage reduction perk, and stacks with Conviction give you a 45% health damage reduction, which is very tanky for a class like this. Now, for the Prestige perk options, I do take Battlefield Awareness first. If it charges than 8 meters, you'll do 10% more range damage. This one is just a no-brainer. I mean, you get into close range all the time on the Vanguard. We have a Bolt Carbine, so that 10% buff is very strong for this weapon. And within 10 meters of an enemy, this weapon already gets a headshot multiplier buff, so perfect synergy there. Next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. And the final perks are Launch Restoration and Restoration for Armor Restore, because Armor Restore is still top tier in Space Marine 2. Getting 1 armor back on every grapnel launcher use is incredible in this game, especially if you take a perk here like Inner Fire. Next perk here, of course, Restoration is just a pretty standard option. I mean, a 15-second cooldown Armor Restore is good, but like if I was to choose between one of them, I would pick Launch Restoration and like swap this for Indomitable Spirit or like maybe Well Equipped. That's all up to you, and that's pretty much all there is for the Vanguard perk tree. Some final thoughts on this is that if you don't want to use the Bolt Carbine or like the automatic version, you can take a Marksman Carbine, set it up the exact same way. The Ammo Reserve option of the Marksman Carbine actually does more headshot damage than the headshot multiplier version, which is pretty hilarious. They buffed up the base damage of this back in like patch 12, and ever since it has been the best in slot, and also has incredible ammo efficiency. Now, the Heroic Instigator Carbine is also very strong. You can set up like this, and the Oculus is also quite powerful for the 2x headshot version, and you set up this way. And the Melter Rifle, as always, is still very powerful, and the new Heroic Salamander version is also quite fun. But you know, that's all up to you, and that's all I have to say on the Vanguard class. Now, for the Bulwark class, this class is still god tier in Space Marine 2 patch 14. This guy had basically no changes to him, and he's still in an incredible position. And today I'll be talking about a Power Fist and also just a Shield Bash build, because there's really not a ton to deal with in terms of perk changes between the two. But first up, the Block Power Fist. Now, the Block Power Fist is way better on Bulwark than the Balance, mainly because when you are dealing with this class, your parry window is actually pretty important, because because you have an animation cancel on the Bulwark where every time you block with your shield, you will cancel off any animation you're doing. However, that will not cancel out of parry animations, which means you will still be stuck with an awkward balance window. So being able to use block for that 0 frame startup, it feels way better on him, which is why I think this is the overall best option for the Bulwark, at least on this weapon. Now, for the perk tree here, it's pretty much the same as the Assault class. Perpetual Strength first into the perk here, Heavy Preparation. And then we pick up Perpetual Strength again into the perk here, Hard Target, Focus Intention. When your health is below 30%, you take 50% less health damage repairing heavy attacks. This perk, combined with the damage reduction of the Bulwark with Steel Within and stuff like Focus Restoration or even Conviction, will make you ludicrously tanky when you actually break your armor, so really strong option for him. Next perk here is, of course, Tide of Battle. Power wave forward distance increases from 4 to 8 meters. This is actually 10 to 20 because the description here is still incorrect. And then we pick up the perk Following Below, which helps us hit some breakpoints occasionally. And the final perks here are Combo into Majora's Slayer, and the perk down here, Strength of Will, for a 20% range damage reduction during heavy attacks for just like a little bit more damage reduction, because why not? Now, some other strong options are things like the block Power Axe once again, or the block White Scar's Chainsword. I mean, these are really powerful on him because, like I said before, any 0 frame startup on this class is just very strong, because not only does it help you out with your animation canceling, since you can actually, you know, have an easier time responding with parries that are usually locked in, but also the perk here, Intimidating Aura. Perfect Time Parry deals AoE damage in a 5 meter radius, cooldown is 5 seconds. This will trigger on a perfect block, and a 0 frame startup to get this AoE, which is a stupidly high amount of damage, is just super strong for you. So I pretty much always pick either a block weapon or a fencing weapon on this guy, at least when using that perk. Now, for the secondary weapon, I think the Rate of Fire Plasma is still the best on this guy, especially if you're taking a Power Fist, because the Power Fist functions like a ranged weapon in this game, which means you can punch Zoanthropes and Neurothropes out of the sky, which gives you free reign to just take a Plasma Pistol, because you don't need a headshot multiplier as much as most classes do. And also, this will give you back full contested health pretty much instantly on a charge shot. I mean, if you want to take other options like the Bolt Carbine or like the Heavy Bolt Pistol, you can definitely do that, but Plasma really is just that strong on this guy, even if you don't have your ammo economy perks. Now, for the perk tree on this, it is the same as the Assault. I would take Plasma Collection to the perk here, Rapid Cooling. Then I'd take Plasma Collection again, Divine Might, Blast Radius, Perpetual Velocity, Plasma Collection again, the Plasma Collection, which should be Efficient Charge, and the final perk here is Perfect Cooling, and that's all there is for this weapon. Now, as far as the bolt pistol goes, I'd set up this way, and for the firepower bolt pistol, or whatever other bolt pistol you want to take, you set up this way, and that's all there is for this one. Now, for the perk tree, number 1, Intimidating Aura. A perfect time parry deals AoE damage in a 5 meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. I just mentioned this perk. We're going to mention it again because this perk is on crack, pretty much. This is one of the best perks in all Space Marine 2. It will pretty much kill bosses on its own. I mean, if you take this to a Vortex Beast, and the Vortex Beast just does his like 6-hit parry on you, you will get 2 free triggers on this while doing absolutely nothing but hitting a button 6 times in a row, which is really not as hard as it may sound initially. But if you really don't want this, if you want like an easier time in terms of damage reduction, you could pick up Conviction, because this perk combined with Steel Within, combined with Focus Restoration, pretty much guarantees you will make it to every invigorating icon operations and hard strats. Next perk here is Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you'll take 25% less damage from range attacks. But then I pick up the perk Steel Within for a 30% health damage reduction while your health is less than 50%. Having at least this perk, or the perk here Conviction, is very nice on the Bulwark, because the Bulwark has a starting HP increase of 30%, and that means any damage reduction you get is going to get even more valuable than other classes, or it's going to be more valuable than other classes, excuse me, because you are just having a fatter amount of HP in base. And also in Space Marine 2, when you drop below 25% HP in this game, you'll get a ramping damage reduction on top of that. So you have a higher base HP, you get damage reduction from your perk tree, and you get that ramping damage reduction, which makes you absurdly tanky and basically unkillable by like most conventional means with Conviction, Steel Within, and that starting perk. Next perk here is Focus Restoration. Every 30 seconds, all team members automatically restore 1 armor segment. This is the best team perk for Bulwark. 1 armor back for your whole team is incredible. Armor damage caps against melee attacks and even range attacks at times, which means that you are just avoiding damage entirely. So, for example, if you're in the siege mode and you are getting smacked by an enraged warrior that would straight up one-shot you, if you have 1 armor from this perk, you will take 0 damage, and that is worth more than like any amount of damage reduction against an attack that would just instantaneously kill you, unless you could actually like reach that level to like damage reduction it. But in this game, at certain points you can't. But even the operations and hard strats, Armor is super strong. Advanced conditioning may be easier. I know some players like this, but this perk is better. Next perk here is Purity of Purpose. The banner deals damage over time to enemies within its area of effect. This is just a free shock grenade around your banner. It is such a potent effect that I pretty much always take this. I mean, you will wipe out Minoras, you will wipe out Bramble, you will wipe out Cultists, you will do significant damage to Extremis, Majoris, and even bosses. Purity of Purpose has a very pure purpose. It is just that good. I would pretty much always take it. Next perk here is Invigorating Icon. When the banner is activated, all team members regain maximum contested health, but it recharges 50% slower. This is by far the easiest of the perk options here to use. Having HP attached to your banner is just incredible in this game, and a 50% reduced charge rate does kind of suck, but it's still worth taking because this perk just prints HP for your whole team. Now I'll say, if you are planning to use a Shield Bash build, all you have to do is just take a Block Power Axe, build it this way, take Concussive Force instead, and just build like your trees like this if you want, and that's all you have to do. Your Shield Bash will do 100% more damage on the rush and 200% more damage on the base bash, and all you have to do is just slam them over and over and over, and that's the highest damage on the Bulwark. But Invigorating Icon, definitely better for like general player base use. Next perk here is Merciless Resolve. After a Shield Bash, Shield Rush, or Thunder Hammer Pommel Smash, melee damage increases by 15%. You know this for heavy hits and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This will just give you free no knockback, and no knockback will save your life, and all you have to do to trigger this is just Shield Bash the air. It does not matter if you actually hit an enemy. Just keep in mind, you cannot reapply the effect until the 10 seconds are up. Now, if you want to have an easier way to get your armor back or your no knockback over and over, I would just take Armored Advance because this one's automatic, and you can even combine the two for like some redundancy. Next perk here I take though is Defensive Mastery. A perfect time parry or block instantly incapacitates a Majoris or Extremis level enemy. The cooldown is 90 seconds. This is just a free execute on some of the most annoying enemies in the game. Being able to one-shot Extremis in the middle of a boss fight is super valuable, and a 90-second cooldown is not that long, so a really powerful perk effect. Now, for the Prestige perk options, you gotta take Auxiliary Reload or Resilience first. When you're taking Invigorating Icon, you don't necessarily need Resilience that much. Auxiliary Reload can be nicer to top off your ammo and your plasma, but it is up to you. Next perk I would always take though is Overcharge. Health and charge attack damage increases by 20% because this will just buff up your Power Fist tremendously, so definitely grab this. Helps you hit a ton of breakpoints. And next perk here is Powerful Shot. Range damage increases by 20%. And the final perk is Masterful Defense. Ability charges for by 1% for every blocked range attack. Against Chaos especially, you will get back almost your entire banner against like Minigun Terminator sometimes, so really strong option on this class to take this guy. Masterful Defense is kind of cracked and always has been ever since it got like reworked a while back, and that is pretty much all there is here. I wouldn't really take perks like Standard Bearer or Emboldened Stand on this build. Standard Bearer is pretty good. I just think it's way better on things like a Thunder Hammer build and stuff like that because you want to have that invulnerability for Aftershocks, since invulnerability will give you no knockback immunity as well. And that's pretty much all there is for the Bulwark class, guys. I mean, this class is in a very strong spot. He has been for like really since 2024 of September when the game came out. It hasn't really changed much. In fact, he's really only gotten stronger over time. But hopefully this gave you an idea of what to use. That's all I have to say about this guy. Now for the sniper class, this guy is kind of on crack. Really, all you have to do on him is manage your cloak properly and you win the game in true solo or groups. It does not matter in operations hard strats. He's not that strong for siege mode because siege mode is mostly a DPS race, but in the operations mode, he just kind of wins for your entire team if you play him properly. Now the best build for him, in my opinion, is the automatic bolt carbine, just like the Vanguard class, because this thing has incredible ammo economy and incredible damage, and all you have to do is just build for your purification on your cloak to get back your contested health, and also just build for pure damage to have an easier time in the game and stuff like block break. Now we're not really building for melee damage at all in this build because you really do not need that, and the bolt carbine, as far as the perk tree setups for this go, I would just say Headhunter first into the perk here Rapid Health, then I pick up the perk here Home Precision for a 50% reduction in maximum weapon spread, just like the Vanguard, because the 2 accuracy here just means that you want to have this like laser beam hip fire. And the next perk is Divine Might for 10% damage buff, Headhunter, and Headhunter again for a 20% headshot damage increase. Then we go down here for the perk Extended Magazine, into the perk Divine Might, increased capacity, magazine restoration, adamantine grip, and Divine Might for even more damage. You really do not need the armor restoration up here at all. It doesn't even matter if you're fighting Chaos or Tyranids. I mean, this weapon will just mince Rubric Marines, Chaos Spawn, even the new Chaos Terminator Sorcerer still crumbles before the Sniper's Might, and this guy is just kind of nuts with the bolt carbine. fine. Now, for the secondary, I do take the Heroic Bolt Pistol because this thing is just really strong right now, and more importantly, the Heroic perk effect, Burst Fire. You can fire shots within 3-round burst. This will allow you to trigger the perk over here, Pattern of Excellence, far easier, because this says performing 3 consecutive headshots restores equipment charge by 1 with a cooldown of 30 seconds, and every shot from that Burst Fire will count as an individual shot for this perk, so really easy to trigger this perk effect. Now, if you want to take a Heroic Instigator, you could do that as well, but like it really does not matter. As long as you build for a bolt weapon, you will be fine on this build. Now, for the melee weapon, I do take the Argent Edge because the Argent Edge is the best defensive tool in the game, and on this build, we really do not need melee damage, so there's no reason to not take it. The Heroic perk effect is Scathing Retort, or their post window is shorter, but each perfect parry damages and staggers the enemy. So what this weapon does is it turns your parry window from a fencing weapon to a block weapon, which just means you have half the active frames, but it's still very strong and very easy to use because both the fencing versions here and the block weapon versions, they all have 0 frame startups on their parry, which means the moment you press your button for a parry, you have an active parry window, which is really all you need. Now, for the perk tree on this, it really does not matter too much. It really, most of this is a parry stick, so things like Perpetual Strength, Kinetic Energy, you can really build it however you want. I just go for Shadow Stab because I just prefer that, but it doesn't matter too much. Like, your perk selection is mainly there for just like some random buffs on this one, because this is the only perk you actually need, because getting free gun strikes on any parry on things like a Terminator, Ravener, and stuff like that is incredible. So that's really all you need on this one. Now, for the perk tree, the first perk I take here is Block Break. Shots will penetrate enemy block stances, dealing 50% of the usual damage. Now, we really don't need melee damage on this build at all, so melee mastery is not necessary, and the perk here, Medicae Adept, is not that strong anyways. So being able to shoot through Tyranid block stances on our Bolt Carbine is very nice for us, and the next perk I take here is Vantage Point. Remaining stationary for 2 seconds increases your ranged weapons damage by 20%. So on the sniper class, the base cooldown of your camo cloak as of like patch 12.2 plus is 90 seconds, and that means all you have to do is camo cloak, shoot your bolt carbine, your cloak immediately goes into cooldown, which will trigger perk effects here like Lingering Concealment, which says after performing an attack that breaks camo cloak, you remain hidden for 2 seconds, and also triggers perk effects here like Emperor's Grace for 2 seconds that give you invulnerability, and also allows you to sit still. You trigger perk effects like Vantage Point, and by the time this is all done and that 2 seconds is up, you are either like right at your cloak cooldown or your cloak is already back. So it's kind of absurd how strong the sniper class is right now, because really all you have to do is just cloak, shoot your gun, wait, and then cloak again, and just repeat that with Purification, and you will pretty much never die in an operation or hard strat. Next perk here is Dexterous Hands. Bolt carbines reload 20% faster, and the weapon spread recoil reduced by 15%. And the next perk is Squad Renewal. A headshot kill restores ability charge by 10% for any team member. Now, you don't have to take this one. You actually can like manage your cloak that you don't actually need to take this. You take Marksmanship or the perk here, Precision Targeting, instead. That being said, Squad Renewal is just way better, in my opinion. Like, I mean, if the only crux of your build is getting back your ability charge, you probably want the perk that lets you do that over and over, because a 10% recharge here, that will just fill out the gap if you do mess up your camo cloak management and just get your HP back on Purification. So I think this is the best option. Next perk here is definitely the best option with Purification. Manually activating camo cloak removes negative stats effects, restores all contested health. This perk is kind of nuts. Okay, Purification is like a squid inking, where all you do is you hit your cloak. You have now recovered all of your CHP. You've now recovered every single option for like a SAS effect. Your SAS effects are just gone. You have also triggered perk effects over here like the Emperor's Grace for 2 seconds of invulnerability. So all your HP's back and you're invulnerable for 2 seconds. It's basically impossible to die as long as you can cloak. Next perk here is a Targeted Shot. The first range attack that breaks camo cloak deals 75% more damage. Now, this one may not tell you this in the game, but it will last for the first 5 shots of your bolt carbine. There's a little bit of a lingering effect attached to this one. It doesn't tell you that in the game for whatever reason, but that is the case, so it's still worth taking. Next perk here is a Lingering Concealment. After performing an attack that breaks camo cloak, you remain hidden for 2 seconds. You just take this perk because this is by far the best perk since they buffed camo cloak, and it's no different now. Next perk here is Power of Excellence, because 30-second Melta Bombs and really any other equipment in the game are OP. Though if you really want to take like Evasion or I guess like Emergency Override, you could. You really do not need these perks, and the Melta Bombs and like really any other equipment spams make your games go way faster, but if you want to take them, you can. For the prestige perk options, Emperor's Grace is just a must-have in my opinion. When Camel Cloak activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. Invulnerability in Space Marine 2 makes you invulnerable to everything, damage, knockback, it does not matter. This perk is incredible and will trigger all the time. Next perk here is also mandatory in my opinion, Versatile Precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your primary weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This just gives you infinite ammo as long as you have a secondary option, which is us. So Bolt Carbine, already very susceptible, not susceptible, but already very high synergy with percentage restores because your base ammo capacity is so damn high. And in game, because we have increased capacity, your ammo capacity will be like 400. So really strong option for him. And this perk will give you a ton back. Final perk options here are Conviction, because a 25% health damage reduction for 10 seconds is nuts, or excuse me, 15 seconds on this one. And the final perk is Exacting Focus for 20% range damage buff for 10 seconds on a gun strike, because you do have the Argent Edge, which means gun strikes will happen all the damn time. I'm not exaggerating when I say, guys, that this build is just kind of ridiculous. I mean, you just take this into a hard strat by yourself. I took this into Supremacy of the Strong twice to foe before and just bodied them until like my game crashed. It's kind of nuts how strong the sniper can be in hard strats and operations, and really the only thing holding you back is like your willingness to sit there and Camel Cloak manage the entire time and your ability to do that. But it's really not hard at all, and hopefully this gave you an idea of how to set this guy up. Now for the heavy class, this guy is an absolute tank in this game. If you build him with fortitude and damage reduction, he's also very easy to use, and currently in patch 14, I think his best build setup is as follows, using the Chains of Duty Heroic Heavy Bolter. I do think the Heroic Heavy Bolter is the best option for this class in hard strats and operations still. The Heroic Plasma is also quite strong, but the main thing here is that this one will give you a fencing parry window with the Heroic perk effect down here, Reinforced Gun Casing, perfect parry window increases by 50%, and after gun strike the weapon is completely cooled. So the biggest downside of the heavy is that balanced parry window, and being able to like easily respond to the Chaos Spawn and Tyranid Sword Warriors and stuff like that. That will help you out so much in this game. And also back in patch 13, they buffed up the body shot damage of every single bolter in the game, including this one by like 30%. It feels way better on the Horde Clear now, and on top of that, the Heroic perk effect here will give you no startup on your max fire rate. So the moment you pull the trigger on the Heroic variant, you will just go to your max fire rate, which is very strong for full DPS. Now, as far as the perk tree goes on this, I do start off with the perk here, Fast Venting first, moving here into the perk Perfect Cooling, then we pick up the perk Increased Capacity, Headhunter for 10% more damage on the headshot, and then I go up here for the perk Heavy Immunity. While in heavy stance, you not lose 12 heavy hits. Now, if you're taking fortitude here like I am, because building tank on this class is just super strong, you definitely want to have this perk because this class does kind of lack no knockback, so having this option here or something like Strategic Stand is very nice. Next perk here is of course the perk Adamant Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by 25% of the maximum capacity, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity, cooldown is 30 seconds. So because you are so tanky on the heavy class, being around 30% HP with fortitude really does not hurt you that much. You actually trigger this perk effect over and over, which makes you very ammo efficient on the heavy, so really top tier option for him, and also goes immediately into the perks you want anyways, with the perk here Heavy Might and Heavy Might for a 30% damage increase in total with both of them while in your heavy stance. And you're pretty much always shooting from heavy stance anyways, so definitely pick these up. Next perk here is Discipline. When you have low ammo, you'll do 25% more damage. This perk is incredible in Space Marine 2, but especially on the heavy class, because the way your ammo restoration works on stuff here like Adamant Restoration or the perk in your prestige perk tree Auxiliary Reload is that you get a drip fed back, or you get a drip feed of ammo back to you, and because of that you will hover around this lower HP threshold of like 20% all the time, which is super nice to trigger this perk effect almost 24/7 in your game at times, so very strong pick. Next perk here is Fast Venting down here to the perk Perpetual Cooling, and the final perk is Divine Might, though alternatively if you want to skip over these two and go pick up Great Might and the perk up here Increased Capacity Velocity instead, you definitely can. That is up to you. Now, for the secondary option, I want to say that if you were fighting Tyranids, I think the Heroic Plasma Pistol is overall the best. I would set it up this way for just full damage on stuff like Rapid Cooling, Plasma Collection, Blast Radius, Perpetual Velocity again, or should be the Plasma Collection again, into Blast Radius, and just pure full-on damage, because you will just one-shot Extremis with the perk down here, Versatility and Brute Force active from their 15% buff. The only downside of this setup is that if you are fighting Chaos, you will not have a stagger option off rip without your equipment. Like, this will take a very long time to charge up, and because of that, you can kind of be left defenseless at times against things like Soul Can Terminators that will just minigun you. That does kind of suck. So if you want to take something like the Inferno Pistol or even the Rate of Fire Plasma and stuff like that, you definitely can, because this is better against Chaos in my opinion. But for Tyranids, I think Heroic Plasma can perform a bit higher just because you aren't dealing with like that stagger need as much. Now, as far as the perk tree for this guy goes, it's pretty standard. This guy's perk variety is not that good in the game at the moment. They are fixing that in year 3, but for now, I take Restoration first. Killing 7 enemies rapid session for 1 armor segment, cooldown is 15 seconds. Moving here to the perk Fortitude, health increases by 30%, because a 30% HP increase is incredible in this game, because this will make you baseline as tanky as a Bulwark. And when you combine that, the perk down here, Conviction, for a 25% health damage reduction and armor break for 10 seconds, you become absurdly tanky. So a really powerful perk synergy here, and by far the best in this column. Next perk here is Versatility. After switching weapons, your secondary weapon does 20% more damage until you switch back or you reload. Now, we do have a Heroic Plasma here or a Standard Plasma, so you never reload those guns, though alternatively, you could take Overwhelming Power. The next perk here is Encompassing Aegis. All team members take 25% less damage from range attacks. This just makes you and your teammates way tankier. Range damage reduction does affect your armor, not just your HP in this game, so really strong pick for him. Though alternatively, you could take additional supplies if you are worried about ammo, excuse me. Next perk here, Consecutive Execution, killing 7 enemies, rapid session restores equipment charged by 1. The cooldown is 90 seconds. A 90-second Melt-A-Bomb, a Crack Grenade. Now, you've heard it all before. Equipment in Space Marine 2 just saves games. This is by far the best pick in this column, so pretty much always pick it up for the strongest build. Next perk here is Power Regulator. Iron Hail loses energy 20% more slowly. This one comes out to be overall better than Field Adjustment in my opinion. The recharge speed is like slightly faster here, like that is true, but because you do save on the energy here, it's not as much as you would think, and this one does not lower down your durability at all, so really good for that. Next perk here is Brute Force. When Iron Halo is in cooldown, range damage increases by 15%. Now, when Iron Halo is active, it also counts as in cooldown this game for whatever reason. This is pretty much just a free buff 24/7. And the final perk is Offensive Capability. When active, Iron Halo deals damage over time to all enemies within 5 meters, and that is pretty much all there is for the main perk tree. Now, for the Prestige perk options, we do take Reverberating Impact first. This is the one you can swap out for like Exponential Force or whatever you want, but the mandatory perks, in my opinion, are Auxiliary Reload, Conviction, and Indomitable Spirit. This one solves your ammo economy on Extremis melee kills, and this one just gives you way more damage reduction, which you definitely want. And this one gives you no knockback on Gun Strike, which will definitely save your life against certain enemies in the game. And that is all there is for the setup, guys. I mean, I really do think the Heroic Heavy Bolter is just the best option at the moment for him on hard strats and ops. A Fencing Parry window will make it far easier to deal with enemies that you would otherwise struggle with, like Chaos Spawn. I know a lot of you guys don't like Chaos Spawn already, so this build should serve you pretty well, I think. So that is all to say in this one on this guy, and I would move on to the Techmarine class. Now, the Techmarine, just like the Tactical, has access to the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle, and just like the Tactical, this is the best gun on this class. Grenade launchers are incredible on glass cannons. The Techmarine has the lowest HP total in the game, tied to the Sniper class, except unlike this class, you do not have access to direct health damage reduction. Instead, you only have things like Omnisci and Axe Deflection for range damage reduction. So you really have to keep your armor up and get that range damage reduction for your armor, because when your HP, or your armor breaks, I should say, on the Techmarine, you are in a pretty bad spot, and the only thing that can kind of save you there is a grenade launcher to get back all of your contested health, which is why this weapon is so strong on him, on top of the fact it has a really good synergy with his perks. So for the perk tree here, we set it up the same as Tactical. You start off with the perk here, Extended Magazine, into the perk here, Magazine Restoration, then we pick pick up Cleaving Fire into the perk Remote Threat, which is 20% more damage at 25 meters or above. Now, this will also combine with the perk over here, Long Range Barrage, for another 25% damage increase, which is actually pretty strong, but this will affect your grenade launcher and your bolter portion. Now, the next perk here is, of course, Great Might, down here to increase capacity for ammo reserves, because this class does not have the best ammo economy ever. It is a bit better than you might expect initially, only because your servo gun is free ammo, and anything that like saves you ammo is going to be pretty strong for your ammo economy. But that being said, you really don't have any direct damage, or excuse me, any direct ammo regen outside of perk effects like this. Next perk here is Headhunter into the perk here Recoupment. Killing a Majoris or higher enemy with a headshots weapon restores an armor segment. The cooldown is 15 seconds. Now, just like Tactical, this is a very strong perk to keep your armor up, but even more so than the Tactical class, this class really wants his armor up as much as possible, because if you lose your armor, your HP pool is not large at all, so you really do want to have this perk. It's a great option for the operations and hard strats. The next perk here is Rapid Health. When your health is below 30%, killing 7 enemies rapid session restores health by 10%. Once again, this will keep you out of one-shot territory sometimes because you are very squishy without your armor. If you want to go down here for stuff like Rampage and the perk here Cleaving Fire, you can definitely do that. This is just way better for the hard strats and ops. This is a bit better for siege mode. Next perk here is Perpetual Penetration, down here into the perk Extended Magazine, and the final perk is your choice of Divine Might or Remote Threat. Once again, that's all there is for this weapon. Now, for the secondary, because we have a great stagger option with the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle, just like the Tactical class, we take the Heroic Plasma Pistol, because this one just gives you damage nuke potential against stuff like Extremis and Majora's Clumps outside of your grenade launcher. So the way we set up this one, since we don't have a Plasma Boost perk, is just going for pure damage. So I start off with the perk here, Plasma Collection first, moving here into the perk Rapid Cooling, Plasma Collection again, Blast Radius, Perpetual Velocity, Plasma Collection, Blast Radius, into the perk here Retaliation, and the final perk here is Divine Might for a damage buff. That's really all you need on this thing. I mean, you could take the Rate of Fire if you want to have like a faster contested health recovery, but for the most part, your primary will handle that for you. And if you really want to take a different secondary, like a Neo Volkite, Inferno Pistol even, you can definitely do that. Just keep in mind that the gunstrike damage of your secondary does not really matter on this class, because you do have a servo gun that has a separate gunstrike damage all on its own. Now, for the melee selection, we take the Argent Edge. Now, I know a lot of you love the Omniscient Axe. If you want to take this, you definitely can. I'll have plenty of builds for this patch, but the big thing about the Omniscient Axe is that this weapon really wants to have the perk over here, Arc Cleave, for a 20% multiplicative melee damage increase of the charge attacks, because charge attacks are like 99% of what makes this weapon very strong on the overcharge. And when you are using an Argent Edge, you can just completely skip this perk up here instead and go down here for defensive perks like Omniscient Axe Deflection, or different offensive perks like the perk Methodical Destruction, while also getting a ton of gun strikes, which this class really wants. Now, for the perk tree on this, it really does not matter that much. I just build it the same way as Tactical, though if you want to go all the way up the top for stuff like Terminus Slayer or like Extremis Slayer instead, you can definitely do that. And if you want to swap out this perk for Shoulder Bash for a better, lunging attack, you can also do that. It's really up to you. The Argent Edge is predominantly used as a parry stick with the perk effect Scathing Retort. The riposte window is shorter, but each perfect parry damages and staggers the enemy. This will just give you non-stop gun strikes, and this class has animation-free gun strikes, so really amazing synergy on him, and definitely the best option overall. Now, for the perk tree, the first perk I take here is Precision Enhancement. The servo gun now targets single dangerous enemies and fires powerful precision shots. This is by far the best on operations and hard strats. The plasma is pretty good. The big problem with this one is it gets caught on enemies all the time, and to get the full benefit out of this, you also have to take the perk Omniscience Fury for burn damage, and burn damage is still pretty strong, but since they nerfed the Auspex scan on the burn, this is actually even worse now. So Precision Enhancement, this is just the best overall at the moment for operations and hard strats. It will one-shot Zoanthropes. It will almost one-shot a Neurothrope with Lethal Perimeter on its own. It is a very powerful option, and also keep in mind your servo gun shots, they will give you back contested health, so putting down a Lethal Perimeter here, which says the servo gun marks a zone and automatically attacks enemies that enter it using 50% less energy per shot. This will give you back a ton of contested health while it's down, and even when you're knocked over, your servo gun will continue to fire, which means you'll get your contested health back in like the most dangerous situations. So by far the best option combination here, really powerful for this class, and operations and hard strats, this one dominates. Next perk here is Omniscient Axe Deflection. After a perfect parry or perfect block, you will take 25% less damage from range attacks for 10 seconds. This is an incredible perk on the Argent Edge. You'll be perfect parrying all the time on this weapon, and having that extra 25% combined with the one down here for a 20% damage reduction while surrounded by 5 more enemies for range gives you a 45% range damage reduction, which will also combine with your armor, because range damage reduction does reduce damage from range attacks against your armor, not just your HP. So things like Battlefield repairs for double armor on Majoris or Extremis finishers is going to be even better. Next perk here is a long range barrage. Range damage that ranges greater than 20 meters increases by 25%. This is just a nice damage buff. You don't have to take this if you don't want to. You could go for the perk up here, Explosives Adept, instead for a 50% damage bonus to your equipment. That is up to you. The only one I would not take with an Argent Edge is the perk here, Push the Advantage, because melee damage does not really matter too much on this build setup. Next perk here is Battlefield Repairs. Squad members restore 1 additional armor segment for finishers on Majoris or Extremis enemies. This is by far the best team perk in operations and hard strats for the Techmarine. Extra armor is just kind of insane in Space Marine 2, so definitely pick this up. And the next perk here is your choice of Inexorable Salvo, or the one up here, Designated Target. Now, Designated Target will give you a 15% damage bonus against enemies hit by your servo gun for 10 seconds. This is a very strong perk effect, but this one is a bit safer to use because this one will give you no knockback while your servo gun is active, and will also have a lingering effect for 15 seconds after deactivation. Now, when you take this perk with the perk over here, Lethal Perimeter, you can actually put your Lethal Perimeter in the ceiling and just trigger this perk for free, because you can turn off the zone before it actually uses any energy on your servo gun at all, which is actually very strong for you. So a Lethal Perimeter combined with this perk, a very good option. Next perk here is Replenishing Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores 1 equipment charge. The cooldown is 75 seconds. This perk is incredible. A 75-second cooldown for killing Majoris happens all the damn time. Or not even killing Majoris, just killing any enemy in the game, including Minoris. That will happen like 100% of the time on your precision enhancement, so you'll be getting this off cooldown pretty much 24/7. Next perk here is a Fortifying Salvo. Killing or incapacitating an enemy with the servo gun restores 1 armor segment. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, you have a choice here. You could take the perk here, Strategic Gunstrike, to only target Majoris and above for 20% more damage at 20 meters or above in range. This is pretty good with the precision enhancement. However, when it comes to Lethal Perimeter, your servo gun already targets the Majoris as like a priority anyways, so having this for armor regen, as long as you make sure to turn off your zone in time, is really strong on its own, but like both are pretty good options. Final perk here is Lethal Perimeter, and that's all there is for the main perk tree. Now, for the prestige perk options, we take Chain Headshots first. Headshot damage increases by 3% per consecutive headshot, up to a maximum of 15%, and the bonus lasts 5 seconds without landing a headshot. This is the exact same perk as Acuity on Tactical, and it's just as good here, so definitely pick this up. Next perk here is Unflinching Focus. You are invulnerable to damage while activating Torrential Sentry Guns. This is a mandatory perk. You pretty much always take this on the Techmarine. Without this, your sentry guns feel like shit, and sentry guns are actually pretty strong in this game, even without like any perk investment, like things with Augmented Tarantula or Reinforced Position. Just on their own, they're pretty good, and this will make them way more valuable for you to actually activate. Next perk here is Stim Boost. Medicaid stims restore 40% more health, and the final perk is Defensive Stance for that 20% range damage reduction. So like, this is the big benefit of the Argent Edge as well, is that you don't need perk effects like Furious Gunstrike because you don't care about the melee damage that much, and you could take Blast Radius instead of Defensive Stance if you want to, but I would mainly take this with the perk over here, Explosives Adept, and the perk here, Volatile Sentry, is okay. It's just kind of a gimmick effect, and that's pretty much all there is for the Techmarine, and that's also all there is for this video, guys. I mean, these are some of the strongest, if not the single strongest build setups in the entire game for every class, and hopefully this gave you an idea how to run your guys in the hard strats and operations in patch 14. And if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, if you want to catch me live to ask me questions about the game, or just come hang out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description, alongside a link to my community Discord. I also want to say a special thank you to my channel members. Your guys' support helps me make guides like this every damn day pretty much. And as always, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Bye.